And this is your second card using the Stamp of the Month Club selection for October 2012, the French Foliage Set. Here's the pieces for our card. You're going to start with 3 different sizes of vanilla, and then you're also going to have matching layers just to make those images pop. The first thing you're going to need are 3 very vanilla pieces of cardstock, and I'll put the dimensions on the screen. We have to put these together in a temporary way so that we can stamp. So you need some sort of temporary glue, just so the pieces won't move around while you're stamping them. So here you go. This is them all layered together. And now we're just going to collage stamp. If I was going to put a saying on this card, I would do it first and then stamp around it, just a little bit easier. Let's start with the French script, and I'm going to use the crumb cake ink, and I'm just going to randomly stamp it on my card. You can see that the image is going off of the one and going onto the other, and there is a bit of a gap. Don't worry about that because that'll be fixed later on when we put the card together. So the next lightest color I'm going to use is more mustard. I've got my little leaf, and I can go right over top of these other images. This is just a collage stamping. The next thing I want to add is this big broadleaf, and I want to bring in some color, so I'm going to use the Cajun. Just randomly stamp your images. Nothing planned. And then lastly, I've got my largest stamp, and I'm going to use the darkest color, which is the Espresso. I can go over the other images, it won't matter. I got a little space down here. And then the last image I want to use is the postage. I love this little Paris postage. And I want it to pop, so I am going to use the dark for that. Just add it randomly like that. So now we're going to take this apart and put it together again. Because we used temporary glue, this just is going to peel apart really easily, and we can just rub that glue off, or leave it on actually, because we're going to be putting the card together anyway. The most important thing you want to remember is when you take it apart, you want to make sure you put it back together in the exact same way. So make sure you don't change the layers. So let's put it together. My first layer is going to be mounted on the early espresso. My second layer is going to be mounted on crumb cake. And my third layer is going to go right onto the card, which is a early espresso. Next thing I want to do is put some ribbon on my card. So just want to make sure that I've got this going the right way, and I do, so that's good. I'm just going to mount those 2 layers together. And when I do this, you will see that it looks like a continuous image from this piece to this piece. Even though when we first stamped it there was a gap, this piece of layered cardstock is covering up that gap now, so it just looks like it's a complete stamp. Isn't that cool? Let's put some ribbon on this using the crumb cake seam binding. I've just had a nice soft little knot, and then this piece can go right onto your rest of your card. Lining it up like so. And there's your card. I wanted to put a little greeting, and my favorite thing to use is the little tiny tag set. I just love this one. And this one's got the little word friends, which is cute. And I'm just going to stamp it on a scrap piece of paper in the Cajun Craze. And I'm going to bring in the jewelry tag punch, which matches it perfectly, and punch that out, just like so. And then I want to attach it, but I thought it would be really cute to use one of the vintage trinkets, and I love these. I use these all the time. They've got little safety pins in here, which is a really cute vintage way. So I do find that if I use my paper piercer, it's a little bit easier than trying to put my little safety pin right through the paper. Just hook it on like that. Stick it through. And there we have just a little salutation here on our card. There's some other cards that were made with this stamp set. This is a collaged version, just like I did on the second card I just showed you. But you just randomly stamp it everywhere, and you can have, this is a little tag, and you can have your little saying right on your tag here. This one here I got from France Martin at Founders Circle. France has stamped this first on Very Vanilla. Then she's used a mask, like torn pieces of paper to give it like a torn edge. Then she's run the whole thing through an embossing folder just to give it some dimension. Really pretty. This is another collaged look. This one's from Lisa Bowl, also from Founders Circle. And she's used that lovely wood grain embossing folder because it really lends itself well to this stamp set. And lastly, this is a card I did several years ago actually. I just used some different Big Shot dies here just to give it some texture. And again, it's just collaged, and this time I want to use 2 colors. So I hope this gives you some ideas to use with your French Foliage Stamp Set. And again, here's your card from this video, and here's the earlier card that I showed you. So I hope you enjoy receiving these in the mail. Thank you so much for joining Stamp of the Month Club. Stay tuned for the November selection soon. Happy stamping!
If you wanna play, make it a brighter place. It'll take creation, imagination. Try to draw outside the lines.